Was one of the saddest stories that we saw this week. Kenyans on social media have taken to various platforms to express their anger after a video of a young woman being harassed by a crowd. There were so many. A crowd of boda-boda riders ended up going viral. Detectives investigating the incident have identified the man, the main suspect in the case. Of course, released the pictures. He was on the front of the Daily Nation earlier this week, and so many people were very upset because of what happened. Now, these videos have been circulating all week. There are different angles of the video telling a very different story. But the one thing that we can agree is no matter what she did, no matter what she said, no matter how angry she seemed, no one deserves that kind of treatment. There were way too many men. There was not one person saying that this is wrong. And one of the worst things, I think, is that there was a cop that was there as she was being pushed and she was being harassed. And I want to start off with Cindy because,
Damn. Ha, 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 ha.
I'm starting off with Cindy because she has very little to say about this subject. But Cindy, I know you saw the video, right? And
yes.
Whether or not this caused a whole commotion online, it was so heartbreaking to watch. Her screams?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Let me tell you something. We were discussing with my husband and we said, and I told him, let me give a guesstimation because I've not done the statistics on the ground. But let's say 3 out of 7 women, or maybe let me say 3 out of 5 women in Kenya have made that kind of scream, have done that kind of scream. Majority of women in this country have been called a derogatory term. I don't want to say it on air because it's not watershed. And I think the reason why we all felt, first of all, it was very appalling what happened. There's a better way of dealing with disputes. And I like how you started the conversation that despite what she may have said, because now there's evidence coming out that she was a bit belligerent, that she waved her diplomatic immunity as a shield and rubbed it in people's faces and people felt some type of way. That is not the way to deal with the situation. And the reason why as women we are in uproar is because we understand exactly what she's gone through. Maybe not in that direct way, but we have all unfortunately been in a position where we felt if we don't scream to our darndest, we don't know what's going to happen next. So it's really heartbreaking. I have my own thoughts about the actions that have happened to follow suit. Some are good, some are bad. But I think it's really good to bring to the fore the fact that there are better ways of dealing with conflict, not only with boda-boda guys and women, but just with conflict in general.
Yeah. Now, has any one of you ever been in an accident involving a rider?
Yes.
You have? Where do they come from? Where do they all come from? It was you and some guy, and then all of a sudden, from underneath your car, from the bushes, they just all come through. Mariam, stop. Babe,
from underneath your car.
Babe, stop laughing. Let me tell you, they come from the sky.
It's so
like
true.
Some SWAT team.
It is so true.
They are just everywhere, and you're wondering, why are we all of a sudden 100?
And
Where
I
did you
hate
come
to be
from?
the kind of mahabi, but if I was not with my husband at that time, I may have been in that situation. And that's why I'm saying her scream felt so familiar.
Yeah.
Because I think, and the unfortunate thing is, as a Kenyan woman, at any given point, you don't know when you'll be in that situation.
You don't know.
It might not be even a boda-boda, right? It may even be in the club or a matatu.
Or your boyfriend.
Yes.
Or some guy you just met.
You're crying out for support, and instead of people coming to defend you or help you, there are people who are adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah, and it's terrible. All right, so now, Mariam, what are your thoughts?
I think it's wrong on wrong. Like Cindy said, there's evidence coming out that maybe she was belligerent, or she had actually, or maybe she tried to move from the scene. It's unsubstantiated, so I won't say it as fact. But even if that is the case, the fact is that even if we try to make it a human issue or this issue, women are always, like, the first point of attack for women is always sexual harassment.
Yes.
Men will get into accidents as well, but no one will think, let me strip this guy. The Buddha guys won't come and try to strip him. They'll be violent, I agree, and they are known to be very, very, very violent in some cases, and sometimes, they'll say chacho magari yako and this and that. But for women, it's always your sexuality that's the first point of attack. So because of that, we can't remove anything and say all lives matter, this is just a human issue and things like that. But the first first wrong could have been what she did. Second wrong could have been what the boda-bodas did. Third wrong is also the knee-jerk reaction by the government. We went from dealing with the sexual harassment of this lady to now harassing boda-boda riders. So it's just wrong on top of wrong on top of wrong. I think we need, we need to find better ways to react to things like this in future.
Word.
I see what you're saying. I think Cindy mentioned that it was a knee-jerk reaction because they also cannot afford it. And then, you know, all the boda-boda operators across the country were affected. I'm so sure there were guys who woke up who had not seen the video, had not turned on the news, and they're wondering, wait, I have to pay you how much? What's going on? What's happening?
35,000 cash bail for just operating.
Yes, that's true. Mato, I know you feel a lot of pressure as the only man on this panel. Okay.
No pressure at all. No pressure. So there are, again, what Mariam said is very true, and then there are so many levels to this. Yes, there is the humanity of it at the very base of it. And then online, the conversation was taking so many turns. There are so many people who are conflicting against each other in terms of opinion, in terms of what should this conversation be about. Is it about drivers versus boda-boda operators? Is it men versus women? Is it diplomats versus Kenyans? There are so many avenues. But to the core of it, I'd want to present this. It became a sexual harassment issue when, instead of dealing with it, how it should have been dealt with, they went for her sexuality, for sure. Yeah. That was when it became a sexuality issue. And then when men, some of them, and women as well, come online and say, but why is it that every time something happens to a woman, that's when people take the opportunity and make it a gender-based violence conversation? I want to say this, especially to the men. Let us not...
gender right.
we have I want to call it male privilege in our society, in the African society. We have it.
Yes.
We have male privilege, and we need to be aware when we have it. Okay. Number two, women make it a conversation of gender-based violence when something like this happens because they talk about this every single time, single time. But when something big like this happens, they see the opportunity to echo it more. That is why it is being made a gender-based violence conversation. It's the same way that we complain about boda-boda riders every time. But when something this big has happened is when the government has chosen to do something about the boda-boda operators. So don't say that you only make it so when this happens. No. It happens every time. We can only be heard now, or rather they can only be heard now. That's why they're echoing it more.
Yeah. Mato, I was hearing that, you know, for men, I'm so sorry, I don't know why this talk back. Did my ear grow bigger? What's happening? It just keeps on coming out. But, you know, I was being told the other day that for men, you know, for women, yes, we are harassed. But for men, they end up beating you. Everyone is stolen from, but then they also burn your cars
and kill you at times.
And so DJ Tom Falme, a very good friend of mine, was telling me that last year or 2 years ago he had to bury his friend because he hit a Ndudi rider who ended up calling his friends, and then they ended up burning the car, and he was lynched alive because of a car accident. So yes, for women we talk about sexual harassment, which is a conversation we need to have, but then also even for men, they go through it, only that it may not be a sexual harassment,
it's in a different, it's a different
topic,
level.
But it's something different. And I think that, you know, regulations have to be in place because you guys don't understand. Kwanza, if you drive out of town, right, if it's a deserted place, the rider comes to your side of the road, tries to hit you, and then he comes with his squad, and then you feel surrounded, then you feel like, oh, okay, maybe I need to pay something, maybe I need to do something, but you were not really on the wrong. I mean, they're the ones who came to your side of the road.
Absolutely.
We want to hear what you have to say. At the Trend Live is our handle. The hashtag is TTTT. The next story that we're going to be talking about right after this is of a young gospel artist who shocked Kenyans on Twitter. If you are a parent, you don't even have to be a parent, by the way. You know, watching this video was very disheartening.